Hello, it's Mio and welcome to another Paint With Me video where I'll be painting with acrylics again. This time it is not a bird though, which is what I usually do. This time it is a tiger. So very excited about that. I started by having a purple underpainting like I usually do because I like the effect of it. I think it looks good. And then I decided to sketch out with a white marker like I usually do. And then I just go right in with a paint and try to fix my sketch because my sketch this time was not all that good. I make an orange color for the tiger by mixing together yellow and this nice magenta color because I didn't want just a normal orange. I wanted it to look a little bit more mystical because it does have quite a lot of eyes, so I thought that would just match the vibe a lot better. And I'm not afraid of just painting over the eyes because I felt like the placement of some of them was not all that good. The idea here is that the eyes, or the extra eyes that the tiger has, is kind of gonna be connected to the stripes. And at this stage of the process, I felt like the eyes were not placed correctly according to that idea. Here I am adding the color around the mouth, which is going to be a lot lighter, so I make it or mix a little bit of white to it to give it that lighter color. And what I really like about mixing everything on the canvas instead of mixing it separately and then adding it is that I get a lot more variation to it, and that fits very well at the starting stage of the painting because I will be kind of going over it with the textures and stuff. Here I also decide to brighten up the cheeks a little bit. I do the same to the nose because I felt like it was more red than it was orange. So I fix that up and then I go in with the black for the eyes. And here I'm just covering the whole eyes, even though they're of course going to be a different color later, and adding those kind of stripy things that come out of the eye because I kind of want to focus more on the shape than to focus on what the eyes are going to look like in the end. So completely black in the beginning, and then I add a little bit of blue to them, and then I add the first stripes, which is gonna have the eyes in them. So I make them bigger than they naturally would be on a tiger. And I want the stripes to be blue. I want most of the darkest parts to be blue. That's why I also made the nostrils blue. And I will be making all the stripes blue and even making the black part that I put in the beginning more blue later on because I felt like black was a little bit too strong for this painting. Here I have already done some texture to the body, or get a little bit of that fur in there. And then here I am fixing up the nose. I use purple for the shadows, and then I use this nice magenta color mixed with white to do the highlights. And that was really fun. I really liked the outcome of the nose. And then I realized that I actually wanted the nose to be a bit wrinkled, like the tiger is maybe not all that happy. So I do try to add these stripes in there right now to get that kind of more angry effect without it being too angry. Like I do not change the eyes. I really wanted the eyes to be big and round, so I don't do anything with those. And I pretty much just make some wrinkles on the nose and then I call it a day. adding in the blue details or the blue stripes was probably my favorite part of this process. I found it very therapeutic, and I really enjoy that the lines do not have to be perfect. In fact, they have to be a little bit not perfect or uneven to look natural, which was really fun to do, really fun to make, because I can't do anything wrong here, really. The teeth were really fun to make because they're big and chunky, so they're easy to shade. I mostly just used this kind of a brown color that I created with, or a very light brown color that I created with the purple and the yellow and some white. And I do also make the teeth a lot more yellow later on, so keep an eye on that. But I don't think I do it on camera, I think I did it off camera. Then here I'm adding some lighter blue to the stripes, because I felt like they were a little bit too dark and a little bit boring because they were just one note. And then here the eyes are gonna be very strong yellow color, so I add that on top of the white. And this is really the only way to get this yellow color, at least the one that I have, this opaque, is to first add white and then yellow on top. Then I also shaded a little bit with some of that nice orangey color, and I fixed the shading with yellow to kind of blend it out and make it a lot more natural and not as bold. I add tiny blue dots in the eyes, and then I add these even lighter blue dots in the eyes, and then a small circle of a purple color around the iris to make it a little bit more dramatic and make it look a little bit more crazy, if that makes sense. Just add a little bit of bold look in there. Here I'm working on the body, and it's pretty much just the same colors and the same techniques, and then some stripes. Also more of the same thing, really. I decided to add a few more eyes to the piece, so I add an eye on one of the stripe, on the back, and then I added 2 extra eyes in the face as well on like one of the bigger stripes. So, and here's the last touch, which is the whiskers. Here I also painted the background this nice brown color. And then I'm using my tiniest little brush and mixing a little bit of water with the paint to get this very nice thin lines. Some of them are a little bit thick, but I do fix that later on. Don't worry about it. And yeah, that is pretty much the final touch of this painting. Here is a look at the whole thing. I quite like this painting. I had a good time making it as well. And I'll probably be making another painting right after this one, so keep an eye on that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.